All right.
Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Journey Podcast. I have a client success interview with Cooper Heller today. Cooper is honestly, he's like a little brother to me at this point. He joined PTBI in 2020, so it's been almost 2 years since he joined. And truth be told, Cooper was one of those kids who reached out to me, and I had zero intention of him joining. I was like, he's gonna get on a call and waste my time, and you know, but we took the call. He loved it. He joined the program. I think he did have to talk to his parents about swinging the investment, and he did. And then I didn't hear from him for 6 months, and was wondering if he did good. He, in the time he was doing his thing, I'll let him share his story in a second. But 6 months went by. He started being active again in the program, and ever since then, he's been freaking crushing it. He's dropped out of school, and recently he just moved out to San Diego. So when he joined the program, he was living out in Arkansas, and now he is in sunny San Diego. So Cooper, without further ado, man, it's great to have you on the podcast. Would love for you to share your story. What's going on? What's your life look like? You just moved from Arkansas and actually Texas to San Diego. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what that's been like?
Man, it has been so awesome, especially the climate change. My God, it's like the middle of January right now. The sunshine here is just immaculate. So,
Beautiful. Beautiful, man. So, let's start from the beginning, man. Let's start from the beginning. So you had originally reached out to me on Instagram, and you were kind of just like, what is this thing you got going on? And just so the listeners know, this was back in 2020. And so I was still fitness coaching at the time. I wasn't really talking about PTBI or business coaching. And so Cooper is one of the first people to invest in the course. And so, what was going on in your life at that point? What were you looking at? What inspired you to reach out?
yeah, man. So at that point, I was in college and I didn't really have a direction. I went into college because, that's kind of what society says to do. And so I did do that. I pursued that route, and it was just very unfulfilling to me personally. Um, yeah, I don't know. I was studying business at the time. It's kind of funny because now we have our own business, but yeah, dude, it just wasn't for me. So I wanted to take the route of entrepreneurship, and I found your page. I found a couple others as well, and I felt like it just resonated with PTBI the best. And so that's what made me take the leap and invest in it.
Question for you, man. What exactly spoke to you about entrepreneurship? Like, at what point did you decide, hey, college isn't for me? Like, I kind of want to start my own business. At what point did you decide like that was the decision you wanted to make? And then also, why fitness? Why did you start a fitness business specifically?
Great question. So to be honest, like my dad started his business. And so I've seen that growing up. And I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur because school is just not my thing. I hated school. I was just there to play sports. So that's when I really knew in high school that the entrepreneurship route was what I wanted to do. So getting into fitness, junior year of high school, I actually broke my back doing deadlift, and I gained a lot of weight, got addicted to some painkillers, just not a good deal. So during that time, I realized how important mental health was, along with training and nutrition. And then my friends started asking me, hey, how did you do this? And so that's when I started to take the fitness route.
Gotcha. I love that, man. You honestly have a crazy story with your injury too. I always find it so like surprising when you talk about the recovery from your back injury and also the painkiller addiction and all that kind of stuff. So could you tell us a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah, man. So that was a really rough time period. There was actually a point when I couldn't walk for about 6 months. And when you're in that state of like constant pain, all you want to do is just numb that with something. And so the opioids kind of filled that gap for me. And that's what really spiraled down my mental health and made me realize like, hey, I got to get out of this position, start eating better, taking care of nutrition, and then finally got my back up and going. Long story with that, but we made it. So
Good stuff. Good stuff, man. Um, So when you decided that you're helping your friends in high school and you found, okay, I can do this fitness thing, I want to do an entrepreneur route, why did you go to college anyway? And like, what was your plan with college? Was there an intention on graduating? Because I don't even think you made it like what, 2 years?
It was really, that was only a year.
Yeah. So what was the intention there?
Man, I don't even know, to be honest with you. A lot of my friends were going to University of Arkansas, and I loved the campus. I loved the area. And I know I wanted to start a business. So I was like, why not? So just kind of,
Gotcha. And
yeah.
what was it like starting a business in Arkansas, or at least in college? What was it like starting a business in college?
Man, it was tough. It was really tough because you're kind of going on your own path
Hmm.
in a sense. And when you have a business, especially taking care of your health, drinking, going out Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, that's really just not the best option for you or your business. So it is tough to kind of rein that in. But I did realize like who my real friends were in that process. And so, yeah, I think it was a huge growth experience.
Love that, man. I love that. Now, I do remember, like I mentioned earlier, you joined PTBI, but you were a little silent for a little bit. You kind of disappeared. What was going on during that time?
Dude, I literally like invested and then I watched a few videos and just did away with it until like 6 months later. So
So, okay, so then what happened to get you back in it? What was the catalyst for like, okay, I'm gonna revisit this, reapproach this? Because I remember when you came back, and ever since then, you've been so consistent and so dialed in, and you've been growing steadily. So what happened at that point?
man, that is a great question. It's like a switch just kind of went off in me, I guess. Because I always knew that, I wanted to do it, but I just put it off until I believe it was summer. That's when I did it because school had ended and I found it in summer, started picking up in summer, and that's when I decided to drop out.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so tell me about the decision to drop out, because that was a pretty big decision. I remember you confided in me multiple times about whether or not you should drop out. I even think you decided to move to Arkansas and not go to school and just hang out on campus and like kind of just do your thing. So what was going through your mind in life at that point?
Yeah, so man, that was a tough decision. I think with anything worth doing, there's some risk. And that was just one of those times because I was comfortable, in college campus and my fraternity. Um, and stepping out of that comfort zone is always tough.
Mhm.
So definitely a growing experience again, but so worth it.
Where did that self-belief come from?
Um, I think a lot of it has to do with inner confidence. I do think that, but also the guidance as well from PTBI and knowing that I have someone in my corner to help me pursue this. So,
Gotcha. I love that. I don't think people realize how valuable it is to just have someone to kind of bounce your ideas with, especially life situations. Um, like my parents, dude, I couldn't confide in my parents for anything, because they want to steer me in the complete different direction. And so if I grew up listening to my parents, I was like, wait, I'm going the wrong way that I want to go. And so it's like sometimes you have to just invest in mentors and have different, walks of life to guide you in a different path too. So I'm glad that you found that value in PTBI. Um, but then what happened with, living in Arkansas and then growing your business? What was your routine like for your business? Like what is your day-to-day look like when it comes to, you know, being your own entrepreneur, being your own business owner? What does that look like?
for sure. So, yes, I did move back to Arkansas. I got a lease for 4 months, which was just kind of a test run in a sense.
Mhm.
And it is tough to run your business, get up early, go to the gym when you're just completely by yourself in an environment when no one else is doing what you're doing.
Mhm.
So it was very tough. Um, But, I realized that, this is what I'm doing. This is what I chose. I have to stick with this. Like there's no point in return. Like I have to do this. So until the 4 months was up, I just had to stick with it, and it sucked, but
Was that hard for you?
very.
Why was that hard?
Well, man, it's just like there wasn't really any encouragement in a sense. I mean, obviously, like in the group chats and stuff, but like no one else was an entrepreneur, especially, at 19 years old,
Mm-hmm.
doing what I'm doing. So it's like you're alone in a sense. So that was definitely the toughest thing for sure.
What do you think you learned from that?
Oh, definitely grit.
And what does that mean?
Like sticking with something, even when you get knocked down, even when you're not getting leads or clients, like you just got to do it.
Yeah, dude, that's the toughest thing, man. There's a lot of people who will start the business and be like, oh shit, there's dry seasons, there's seasons of in like weeks and days where you won't get any leads or won't get any clients, and you have to have the tenacity to just push through it and trust that there's always somebody on the other side, so long as you just keep going. Did the thought of quitting ever cross your mind at all?
It crept in a few times. It did. I was like, there were a few times when I started to doubt, especially because, I was living there in the winter months.
Mhm.
That is the slowest months for this business typically. So that's when those doubts really started to come in. It was like, dude, you haven't got a lead in a week or two. It's like, what are you doing? But just pushing through it. So
Gotcha. And then, so what did you tell yourself in those moments where you felt like quitting, or those self-doubts started to come in? What was that process like of self-talk?
dude, I would turn on like David Goggins, and that's what would really motivate me. Some like speeches, and I would almost talk to myself in like a coach sort of sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Dude, that's dope. I love that. Um, so then now you're here in San Diego, man. So what inspired the move? At what point did you decide, screw Arkansas, I'm going out to San Diego? Like, were you nervous to move? Were you kind of stressed out that what if it doesn't work? What was going on through your mind there?
Dude, so after Arkansas, I moved back to Texas for about a month or two. And I knew as soon as I got there, I was like, dude, I'm moving to San Diego. I have to. There was no doubt in my mind that I wanted to do that. Obviously, it is a jump because it is a little more expensive than small town Texas, but there are great benefits that come with it. So
Good, good. Well, tell us about some of your wins, man. I know I remember getting a couple of text messages from you of some pretty crazy wins. Some, $3,000 paid in full packages. Some clients, making thousands of dollars in McDonald's and stuff like that. So, at what point did it start really picking up for you, and you realize like, oh shit, I'm doing this, and I can do this, and this is now my life? Like, what was that moment like?
for sure. So I think the most recent one, I went on a family vacation, and there was no Wi-Fi at our house. So I had to go to McDonald's to get Wi-Fi for the Zoom calls. And I ended up contracting like $3,000 or $4,000 in 2 days in McDonald's. You could hear like kids just running around the restaurant, man. It was crazy.
I love that, man. So, like, what do your friends and family say that now that you're out here in San Diego, you're working for yourself full time and you're supporting yourself? Like, what is that like for them to be like, oh shit, that's Cooper doing the damn thing? Like, did you have any haters or anybody giving you shit when you were first starting it?
Yeah, I did for sure. I still do, to be honest. I think a lot of them are silent, just kind of like the jealousy aspect, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are proud. So
Good. Good. That's amazing, man. Well, what's on the future for you, man? What's the plan for 2022? You just moved to San Diego. You got a whole year here. You got a really awesome roommate that you just moved in with. So, like, what's on the horizon?
yeah, man. So the next goal is hitting 6 to 8K months consistently. And then, the big 10K month here in 2022. And once we do that, Luke and I are going to go skydiving. So
I love that. I love that, man. So what is your daily routine now that you're a full-time online coach out in San Diego? What's your day-to-day been looking like?
Oh man, I'm glad you asked. So typically we get up at 5 or 6, preferably 5. We have an hour long morning routine. It's delegated in 2020. So the first 20 minutes is separated into exercise. The next 20 minutes is reflection. So like meditation, journaling. And the last 20 minutes is basically growth. So reading, podcast, something of that nature. Once we do that, we will eat breakfast, go to the gym, shoot content there, and then the rest of the day work till 5 or 6, and then go catch a sunset.
I
So,
love it, man. Are you happy?
dude, couldn't be more happy.
Love it. Well, what words of advice do you have for any trainers who are getting started with their coaching business that, are maybe in, college and they feel like they're all alone and that they want to start this business and they don't really have the support group, or maybe they're feeling, a little bit of self-doubt, maybe it's not worth it, maybe they want to quit and stuff. What words of advice would you give them?
You got to take the risk. You have got to take the risk, because if you don't do it, you will never know if you can succeed at it.
Mhm.
So, you've got to risk it for the biscuit and go all in, because you got to trust yourself as well. I think that develops over time with self-confidence, but everyone's been there if you're in that position with self-doubts. But yeah, I mean, you'll never know if you don't do it. So give it a shot.
I love that, man. You and I have very similar stories in the sense that when you were out in Arkansas, kind of just alone out there doing your thing, but it's a lot of pushing through it. I had the very similar experience out in Virginia too. Just being completely by myself for a whole year, not having really any friends and no friends that were like super supportive and stuff. But we're here now, and I'm extremely proud of you and your success. So keep up the good work, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Now, where can people find you online if they want to give you a follow?
Yes. So Instagram is Cooper Heller Fit, and the same for TikTok as well.
Beautiful. Cooper, thank you so much. Everyone who's listening in, peace.